Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at DJI Pocket 2 and Insta360 One R. I will say right away that Pocket 2 and One R are in my opinion the two best pocket cameras at the moment. Both are very innovative and they provide output that is above anything else in the class. These are quite different devices, so this obviously can't be a direct comparison. In this video we will mainly take a look at the differences between these cameras and I will try to help you decide which one is more suitable for you. Both devices represent relatively new concepts. Pocket 2 is a pocket gimbal with a sensor and lens mounted on a tiny gimbal, which is attached to the handle. One R is a modular action camera system with 3 interchangeable lens and sensor combinations. Starting with the physical appearance, both devices are very compact and you can carry both in your pocket. Pocket 2 is mainly intended for handheld use. It has a handle and a pretty well placed buttons. One R is basically an action camera, so besides the handheld use, it is also suitable for mounting. Another difference is that One R is pretty durable if you use it with included or third-party housing. That also makes it more suitable for harsh environments. A gimbal on Pocket 2 is a delicate device, just like any other gimbal, so it is not meant to take much beating. Probably the most important difference is the type of footage that you can get with both devices. DJI Pocket 2 uses a 20mm equivalent lens in combination with a pretty large 1/1.7-inch sensor. It is quite a neutral focal length suitable for all-round use. You can use it for landscapes, people, travel stuff, and also for vlogging. In comparison with action cameras, it produces more naturally looking footage. It is still very wide angle, but it already doesn't have that action camera look, which is an advantage for me personally. In this video, I will mainly be comparing the Pocket 2 to One R 1-inch mode, so let's take a look at the other two modes first. The 4K mode shoots a really nice action camera footage similar to GoPro Hero 8 for example. It uses the usual 1/2.3-inch sensor combined with f2.8 16.4mm equivalent lens. I think that the video quality that you can get with this mode is definitely among the best conventional action cameras on the market. It also has one advantage over the 1-inch mode, which is much shorter minimum focus distance. The footage shot with 360 mode is actually very similar to One X2. The image quality in terms of details is almost the same and so is the stabilization, which is fantastic. If you primarily want an action camera but you also want to shoot some 360 footage on the side, getting 360 mode is a good solution. As the name suggests, 1-inch mode uses 1-inch type sensor combined with a 14.4mm equivalent f3.2 lens. This lens is also noticeably wider than lenses on other action cameras. This mode is capable of shooting 5.3K video up to 30p and 4K video up to 60p. In terms of detail, it is by far the best action camera that I have ever tested. It looks more like a mirrorless footage shot with an ultra-wide lens. The field of view is the second significant difference between the Pocket 2 and One R. 20mm on Pocket 2 is more neutral focal length suitable for all-round use. You can use it for landscapes, people, travel stuff and also for vlogging. In comparison to One R, it produces more naturally looking footage. It is still very wide, but it already doesn't have that action camera look, which is an advantage for me personally. 14.4mm on One R is extremely wide field of view. It is suitable for an actual action shooting, POV filming, for mounting or using in tight spaces. Of course, it is also suitable if you simply want to show as much of the scene or environment as possible. On One R, you can also choose the field of view in desktop or smartphone app after you have shot the footage. You can crop it pretty significantly and still get very good image quality because it shoots very detailed video. With Pocket 2, you can use 0.75x magnification lens. That gives you 15mm equivalent field of view. The image quality with this lens is very similar to One R with 4K mod or to Hero 9, so that is a big strength of Pocket 2. Of course, it is not possible to say which focal length is better, but I would say that the field of view on Pocket 2 is more suitable for all-round use, whereas the One R field of view is more suitable for special use. Regarding the image quality, these are by far the two best pocket cameras that I've ever tested. DJI Pocket 2 still provides better image quality, but only because of that field of view. It is generally much easier to make high quality lens with narrower field of view. Pocket 2 can still capture more detail. Despite that it uses a 64 megapixel sensor, DJI was able to get the processing right, and the resulting video looks great. One R 1-inch video quality is by far the best of all action cameras on the market. It can shoot video up to 5.3K, which also captures a lot of detail. A very important feature on One R is the sharpness setting. One R video used to be quite oversharpened before this setting was introduced, so that is a very welcome upgrade. Pocket 2 doesn't have sharpness settings, but the sharpening in normal color mode is very reasonable. Sharpening in the cine-like setting is very low, which is ideal for post-production. Both also offer semi-flat setting, which gives you flexibility for post-production. Here I slightly prefer the colors of DJI Pocket 2 in the cine-like setting. Another difference is the method of stabilization. As I've said, Pocket 2 uses a gimbal, whereas the One R uses electronic image stabilization. An advantage of low-state stabilization on One R is that it can stabilize the Z-axis or the vertical axis. That is useful mainly for walking, which is stabilized on One R, and it does a great job here. The second advantage could be that it doesn't require any sensitive hardware, so the camera with electronic image stabilization can be very sturdy. The gimbal on Pocket 2 has a couple of advantages. First of all, you can choose from 4 modes. You have the follow mode, which keeps the horizon leveled and it follows the panning and tilting. In tilt lock, it also keeps the horizon leveled, but it only follows the pan axis. FPV mode follows all of your movements, including the horizontal axis. That is basically the only mode available on One R and other devices with electronic image stabilization. The fourth mode on Pocket 2 is the lock mode. That will keep the camera pointed in the same direction. You can also use the joystick for very precise gimbal movements, which is a big advantage. Pocket 2 also has an object tracking. You can select the object to follow by double tapping on the screen. It will also detect the face in the frame automatically, and it will start the tracking person in the frame. It generally works very well for objects close to the camera, but not so well for objects further away. Another advantage of Osmo Pocket is that you can control the gimbal remotely, so you can basically compose the shot using the smartphone app. Regarding the efficiency of image stabilization, that is difficult to judge because wider field of view is always easier to stabilize. I can say that the footage looks very stable on both. Pocket 2 is better for static shots, panning and pointing the camera. The walking also looks surprisingly good on Pocket 2. One R is the closest that you can get to gimbal stabilization without using an actual gimbal. A specific of One R is that the flow state stabilization basically just captures the data from gyroscope and then it applies the stabilization in Insta360 desktop app or the mobile app. The result is excellent. This is the best stabilization of all action cameras that I've ever tested. A disadvantage is that you need to apply it in the post. You can also get stabilized footage out of the camera if you don't use Pro mode, but the stabilization won't be as good. Another difference is that One R uses fixed focus. Minimum focus distance with the 1-inch mod should be 1 meter, but I would say that about half a meter is acceptable. On the other hand, Pocket 2 has longer focal length and wider aperture, so it needs to use the autofocus. The autofocus on Pocket 2 uses both phase detection and contrast detection points, and it is very good. The depth of field is also quite deep on Pocket 2, so it has a pretty easy job. Overall, the autofocus is very good on Pocket 2, so I have no complaints. I would probably say that the autofocus is an advantage of Pocket 2 because it allows you to shoot objects very close to the camera. If you want to do that with One R, you have to use the 4K mode. Regarding the stills, Pocket 2 can shoot very impressive 64MP JPEGs or RAWs. The image quality of these is again among the best compact consumer cameras. These are very detailed and the RAWs capture a lot of dynamic range. Stills from One R are very nice as well. It can shoot 20MP stills with a nice amount of detail, especially for an ultra-wide camera. It can also shoot RAWs, which give you very solid flexibility for editing. A shared weakness of both cameras is the screen. Pocket 2 has 1.08-inch screen, One R has 1.3-inch screen. Small screen is a compromise to achieve a specific type of construction in both cases. The screen on both cameras is good enough for composing, but that's about it. An advantage of Pocket 2 is that you can always connect it to your smartphone and use the smartphone screen as a viewfinder. To be honest, I do that probably 3 times a year, but it is still a nice option. The user interface on both devices is very similar. Insta360 took a lot of inspiration from DJI in this regard. The user interface is probably as good as it can be at that screen size. Both devices use swipe gestures to access the playback menu, settings, manual exposure, and so on. Despite the screen size, everything is possible to control using the touchscreen. The menu on both is logically organized and the items are big enough, so no complaints overall. Both cameras also have a very good smartphone app. I would say that DJI Mimo app has better interface for live filming or basically when you are using the smartphone as a viewfinder. The settings are a bit easier to access and change. The wireless viewfinder side of One R app is also completely fine, but the editing within the app is even better. If you shoot in Pro mode, you can apply the flow state stabilization, change field of view, use filters, or even apply the LUT if you shoot in lock. An advantage of One R is that the wireless module is integrated in the camera. With Pocket 2, you need to use the do-it-all handle, but that is also a very useful accessory for audio recording. I have talked more about that in my Pocket 2 accessories video. DJI Pocket 2 uses an 875 mAh non-removable battery. Pocket 2 can shoot about 100 minutes of video on a single charge, which is a good result considering the size. With One R, it depends on the type of the battery. Normal battery base lasts for about 80 to 90 minutes, which is also a good result. It is also the same with vertical battery base. The more interesting option is to use boosted battery base. That one lasts twice as long. In that case, you will get by far the best battery life of all action cameras or pocket cameras on the market. That brings us to the accessories, which are a significant part of ecosystem of both devices. The selection of accessories for both cameras is huge. You can get filters, mounts, cases, and much more. I have made videos about the accessories for both cameras, and those will also be linked in the description. The audio quality on Pocket 2 is by far the best of all action and pocket cameras on the market. It has 4 microphones all around the device, and as long as you don't cover any of them, you will get excellent audio quality. If you have the do-it-all handle, that one also has 3.5mm mic input, and you can also use it with the DJI's wireless microphone, so the options for external recording are also great. The audio quality on One R is not as good as with the Pocket 2, but it is still more than good enough for vlogging and all-round use. One R also offers very reasonably priced 3.5mm adapter, so the options for external audio recording are very solid. To sum up, both the DJI Pocket 2 and Insta360 One R are, in my opinion, very impressive and highly innovative cameras. If you are choosing one of them, you should consider 2 main things. The first one is how you intend to use the camera. If you will mainly use it handheld, for vlogging, for B-roll footage, or simply as a point-and-shoot camera with wide field of view, DJI Pocket 2 will be more suitable. If you need something for mounted use, action shooting, POV filming, or something that can withstand a lot of abuse, 1R will be better choice. The second thing that needs to be considered is which field of view do you prefer. If you want something neutral, go with DJI Pocket 2. If you want something more immersive or you just want to capture the widest field of view possible, 1R will do that. There is a lot of nuances in this comparison, such as the gimbal and flow state stabilization, versatility of 1R's modular design, or the audio quality on Pocket 2, and so on. This is one of the rare comparisons where I can actually recommend getting both devices. The type of footage that they produce and the ideal use cases of these two cameras are, in my opinion, different enough to justify owning both. As you can probably tell, I definitely don't mind having both. Both are some of my favorite cameras regardless of the category, so I can highly recommend both. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.